I wanted to like kind of disrupt things and do something really hard and outside of my comfort zone. And so I think that's where the pride comes from, is like I made this decision for myself. And so thank you, past Mo, for being proud of me. And to future Mo, I'll be proud of you too.
Well, we are here with Hummingbird. Hummingbird, that is. We are at the spiritual halfway point. We're in Harpers Ferry. We just got here yesterday. How has this been? Like, I'm so happy to see you, first of all. See you in person finally.
See you in person, yes.
But I've really enjoyed this morning, and I'm just happy to sit down with you. I'm happy that, and I'm thankful that you've given me your time, which is precious out here, and even put in some extra walk-in and miles just to get to this point here. But so yeah, how's it been so far? How are you feeling at this point in the juncture?
It's been. When my friends and family have asked that question, I say, like, it's been everything.
Yeah.
It's been really great. It's been really hard. But yeah, getting here yesterday, I was just so happy to get into Harpers Ferry and go straight to the ATC and get the picture taken. And I don't know, it was just like this moment of like, okay, I did this, we did this, people I'm hiking with, and so it felt good. I felt proud, but it's been a lot. It's like flown by. Mm-hmm. It's also dragged on.
Yeah.
I don't know how to encapsulate it all into one word now.
I totally understand. Well, let's break it down. Realistically speaking, I'm coming in hot here, but before you started the trail, did you see yourself making it to this point halfway through?
It still felt like a dream, like not realistic. You know, like I really wanted to. I really wanted to make it here. I really wanted to make it all the way to Katahdin, but it didn't feel realistic. So, and I think I was feeling self-conscious about the potential for failure or for not getting to this point. So I was just saying, like, I'm just gonna go as far as feels good, and that's still true. But anyway, long-winded way to say probably not. So it's kind of a pleasant surprise to get here and kind of learn that I have grit, what grit is, and get to this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, maybe it's a good thing in that you didn't have any quote unquote like expectations. I think we talked about that in our first interview.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you had belief maybe in yourself in doing this?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I believed in myself. I wanted to believe in myself. I think when we talked, I was a few weeks out from starting, and yeah, it just felt very scary and a lot of unknowns. So I wanted to believe in myself, but I was trying to temper my expectations. I think that's how I would put it.
And do you feel like, as you've been meandering your way up the trail, that belief has become any stronger, or have you compartmentalized things in a way where you're just kind of just getting to the next place and you're not really thinking about, all right, I'm feeling better here. I believe I can get to this point. Is it just taking it day by day, or do you feel like you've really grown, developed, matured up to this point?
Some days do feel like just got to get to the shelter. Like that's all I have to do. But I'm very proud of this body and my mind, and I believe in myself so much more. I cry all the time. I don't want to cry yet, but I'm like getting emotional.
Just stay tuned on that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really proud of myself for getting to this point and have been like amazed at what I'm capable of, and on my own and with the support of, the people I'm hiking with. And,
It seems that that word being proud or taking pride in something is something that's been kind of a repetitive theme when we've talked. The last time we talked, I was just listening to our interview on the way here,
yeah.
and we're actually going to listen to this clip a little later, but you did mention taking pride in this in this whole journey. So we last talked before you started, before all of this happened, before you stepped into this realm of living in this universe.
Yeah.
I was just telling your friends earlier, it's like when I come back out here to the trail, it's like that scene in Harry Potter where you're at the train station and you jump through the brick wall and then bam, you're
Yeah.
here, and it's different. And the obligations, the speed in which we're living our life, we were just talking about that earlier too, is completely different. So everybody who's out here, who's stayed out here, has had the ability to adapt to the conditions around them. They've adjusted to the life that we're living, this journey that we're on out here. What did that process look like for you early on? Let's just maybe say the first few states, maybe up until you met your friends. What was that like for you then, kind of adapting and learning to be on trail?
Yeah, man, there's one moment that comes to mind. So pre-trail, I was always an early bird. I would get up naturally, probably some people watching this are going to say that's not an early bird, but I think without my alarm, I would get up between 6 and 7 and start my day, even if it was a weekend. For some people that's early, for some people that's not. For me, I feel like that's a good way to start the day. Out here, especially when it was colder, it was really hard for me to get out of my sleeping bag in the morning, and I wouldn't start hiking until like 8 or 9, and I was feeling, in the very beginning, when I was still in Georgia, I was feeling pressure, like I was getting started too late for some reason, and the sun was setting earlier, so I felt like, I was getting into camp kind of late. But I was sitting by a friend of mine around a fire one night, back when we still made fires in the beginning of the trail.
The energy to do so. Who
Yeah.
does that? Yeah.
No more. And I was just telling him, like, oh, I'm feeling stressed. I'm not getting started early enough. And he's like, early enough for what? Like, what are you trying to do? Just do what feels good for you, and do whatever miles feel good to you. You don't have to whip off 20 miles in Georgia a day. Like, I don't think I could do that in Georgia anyway. And
was this because people around you were getting up earlier than you?
Yeah. So I was hiking with a group that we all started on the same day, on March 7th. And for like a week or two, we were hiking together, and they were all starting like really early, really eager to get those miles in, and they wanted to get to camp well before the sun went down, which I understand. And in the beginning, there are so many people, and so I felt like I would get to camp and there wouldn't be great tent sites, and I didn't love sleeping in shelters, and so I was just feeling like late, or I was scared because I wanted to keep up with these people in the beginning. And anyway, so after talking with that guy about it, I was like, yeah, what am I trying to get up early for, and why am I trying to complete a certain number? Like, it was my way of like controlling something or feeling like I was being productive. And I think that's something I've thought a lot about in terms of like the transition, going back to your question, is like, I think I've been trying to let go of that need for being productive, and because the only way I can be productive out here is doing a certain number of miles or something. But so I've been slowly letting go of that, and it's been a lot more enjoyable now. I feel much more in the moment and much slower, and like I'm not rushing to get one place or the next.
I think some people who are listening to us, they hear you saying, I learned to just not go as fast, or to take my time, or to not be as in a rush. And I think some people think that's counterproductive. But I think that it's that in and of itself that we're not, while we're out here, we have to be out here for X amount of time. We're going to be out here for 6, 7, 8 months. To be able to hold ourselves to the same constructs in terms of the speed in which we're hiking, living, we're thinking, if we were to bring that onto trail, that would just create more suffering. Because each day to us, I mean, we accomplish so much. We're in so many different places at once. We really do have to kind of just let loose a little bit and not be so, you know.
Yeah, just be in the moment.
Be in the moment.
Sounds cliche,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
be in the moment.
exactly. Now I know you've, you messaged me a while back and you described your experience out here specifically, and we're gonna go a little further back to when you met your friends, but more recently you're on Skyline Drive in Shenandoah's,
Yeah.
and you described your experience as being meditative.
Yeah.
When I think of Be Here Now, I think of meditation. Just tell me a little more about that experience for you. Whether it's on the Shenandoah specifically, but when you say that you're having a very meditative experience, what did that mean?
I think I get into this pattern when I'm walking. How do I explain this? You just hear your footstep left, right, plodding along. Your backpack's kind of like shifting on your back. Maybe you like didn't secure your stove and your cook pan well enough, so you hear it kind of shaking, and I can like hear the birds singing, and I don't know. It's just it's so easy for me to just tune in to that now, and like that's the only thing I'm thinking about or focused on, and that can be really refreshing. It was something, and I practice yoga and teach yoga, and off trail even. It was like hard for me to carve out time intentionally for meditation or to get to that headspace. And I think there's something special on trail of just like, I feel like I can just tap into that as soon as I get started for the day. It's like, that's all. I'm just one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. It's hard when there's so much going on around us back in regular life, whatever that is. It's hard to notice the birds that are chirping. It's hard to truly appreciate the rustling of the leaves on the top of the tree in a summer wind. Like
Yeah.
it's the hard things. But they're made so much easier here when we give ourselves a space, when we're intentional about it, which I'm happy that you have been, because it's just going to make the experience going north that much better for you. When you think of meditation for yourself specifically, what does that look like for you? Because I was listening to a podcast on my way here, talked about the different kinds of meditation, and is it a more focused meditation, or is it concentrated meditation where you're not trying to think about anything, or do you fixate on certain thoughts, or what does that look like for you?
I think when I try not to think about anything, then of course everything's gonna rush in.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do end up fixating on certain thoughts, but I just try to acknowledge them. Like, okay, this is coming in, I'm gonna give it the attention it needs, and then it flows by, kind of like leaves in a river. Those are what my thoughts kind of feel like. And it is good to give time thinking about certain things, but I don't know, I think, yeah, it's that rhythm. I feel like I'm just moving forward, feeling very present. It's when I'm walking, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not thinking about anything, but the thoughts are just kind of passing through lightly, and then I can decide like, okay, I need to revisit this one later, but right now I'm just gonna keep moving forward. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we either listen to the same podcast, or we're just on the same wavelength. So nice. There we go. Let's go all the way back to Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
It seems to me that for most hikers, you leave Fontana and you're entering a different phase of your hike. I mean, this is something that everyone has hyped up, right? You're going into the Smokies, it's like, oh my God, just wait till you get to the Smokies, and it's never that bad. But something to talk about in the beginning, besides gear. You met some friends there.
Yeah.
Is that the first time that you really had made some meaningful connections with people on trail? And I know that's something you said you were open to when we first talked. How did that come about?
Yeah, so it wasn't the first time, but when I started the Smokies, I was actually going to start them a day earlier, but there was a huge storm that blew through, huge wind gusts, and I was like, I'm going to take one more day in Fontana. But two of the people I was hiking with decided to start that day, and I was hopeful I could catch up to them, but they went through the Smokies really fast, and we ended up splitting apart for that time. And then someone else I was staying in Fontana with stayed one more day, so I started them alone. It felt like I was alone, but I knew a lot of folks by that point who were in the vicinity. But
let me stop you there.
Yeah.
You started alone. A lot of people either don't want to or wouldn't. What was that like for you, starting alone? Was it hard for you? Is it something that you had already adjusted to or had already kind of gone through in the beginning of the trail? Kind of navigating all the different groups and trimleys, what do you want to call them? What was that like?
I think I felt it was a beautiful day when I started the Smokies, and I had taken a Nero and a Zero, and I was just feeling like I wanted to hike. Like I just wanted to get back out there. And it kind of felt like the beginning of trail for me. It felt like Amicalola a little bit. I started alone and met a couple people the first night, but so I was like, okay, I can do this. I was really excited to start the Smokies too. I had never been before, so I was just looking forward to seeing what it was all about. And so yeah, I wasn't, it was fine. It wasn't scary. I think I was just excited about it and excited to hike on a beautiful day after all the rain that we had had and soak up the sun. But yeah, I ended up having kind of a hard, I mean, the first day going northbound, it's like a long climb, and I didn't really realize that when I got started. I try not to look too much at far out elevation gain all the time because it just gets me in my head a little bit. It's like, well, I'm going to go over this mountain anyway, I might as well just do it. But that was hard, and I had started my period that day, and so I was just like having kind of an emotional time, and it was in pain by the time I got to shelter that night. And so I was like really having a moment when I was setting up my tent and started tearing up. And my friend Banjo, who I had met before, but we hadn't really hiked together, he like came up to me just to say hi, and he was like, "What's up, Hummingbird?" But I was already crying. I was like, "I'm crying. This is not a good time." And he was like, "Oh man." So he sat with me for a second and tried to tell me some good news, like from his life, and it made sense in the moment. So, and yeah, we just kind of bonded from there and started hiking together, and we were kind of going the same pace in the Smokies, and so most nights we were at similar shelters or nearby, and then I met Ram and Bomb shortly thereafter, and so yeah, we haven't camped together every night, but we've always kind of like been around each other, and that's comforting in its own way, to feel like I can ask for help or just feel like there are people around and we care about each other and make sure we get through the Smokies or whatever it is. But yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's where we ended up.
No, it did. No,
Okay.
You're doing great. Yeah, you're awesome. So we get through the Smokies. First real big challenge. I mean, outside of just trying to adjust to being out here every day.
Yeah.
You get through the Smokies, Hot Springs. Now you're in the southeast. You're through the Roan Highlands and making your way through Southern Virginia. I'm assuming, like most people, that's kind of around the time where you started to really build a lot of confidence, right? This is where you're probably starting to, get consistently above 15 miles a day. Would that be true for your hike?
Yeah. Started, I think, after Hot Springs, I would say. The hiker legs, I started learning what hiker legs were and hiker hunger and needing to eat like all day, every day. I would say that's kind of where I started being able to go a little further, and the days were longer, and I love, my favorite time of day, I think, to hike is outside of really early morning is golden hour, so that like right before sunset time. So it's been nice being able to just enjoy all these different times of day. And
at what point in your hike did you feel like you had your routine down?
I still feel like it's changing because it's getting warm now. I'm kind of chilly now, but it has been we've had a couple warmer days. And so now I feel like I've been getting up at 5, starting around 6, and then during the heat of the day, and I've only done this a few days because it's just starting to get hot, but just kind of resting in the shade for an hour or two.
Siesta.
Yeah, and then picking it back up. But I would also say around maybe after the Smokies, I was like, at that point I was trying to get on trail by 8:30. And I like to rest every couple hours, take my shoes off, and have lunch around like 1 or 2. And I think in the beginning I was kind of like done hiking by like 3 or so, but now after the Smokies, that's when I was like, hiking till just before sunset, and that's just enough time to like set up my tent and make dinner and chat with folks. And so that's kind of when that started coming in, and now it's like continuing to evolve as the weather gets warmer. Like I kind of like starting earlier, so it's not as hot.
Siestas could get longer. And back into the night.
Yeah.
So we're into Virginia. We're in the heart of Virginia, and Virginia is a long ass state. Do you feel like you've really you've built this confidence that we talked about, but do you feel like your body's in really good shape? Like, are you a hiking machine right now? Because it seems like you are.
I do feel like a hiking machine, yes. Something I had reflected on a couple weeks ago, or whenever I did the Virginia Triple Crown, towards the end of the day I was hiking up to Tinker Cliffs, and it's like kind of a steep, it's not too long, but it just gets really steep all of a sudden for like a mile. And I was just like, mentally, I was like, oh gosh, like I really don't want to do this right now. It's hot, I'm tired. But my legs just keep going. They just feel like, I told my mom, I'm like, I feel like they're like tractors. Like they just keep going. Even when my mind is tired or I'm ready to sleep. But yeah, I do feel like I'm in very good, some of the best like endurance shape of my life, and I'm like, I gotta hit some marathons after this. Like I'm ready to go.
So we're doing great right now. These are literally the best of times. I was talking with you as we were walking to this spot here, and I was telling you how it really feels like my mission is to come as like the hiker of the future and just appear to you guys and like just reiterate, like get it in your heads, like your worst day here is amazing. Like, I mean, it just being out here at this time and place, at this point in your journey with so much behind you, but literally so much ahead of you on the horizon. These are the best of times. And rejoice in everything, the good parts and the bad, the triumph and also the pain that's in your knees or your ankles or in your feet, or that will be in your feet soon.
Yeah, it's in my feet.
But you've kind of had this shared experience with other people, and when I met up with you earlier, you were just saying goodbye to one of your friends.
Yeah.
You had mentioned to me that one of your intentions coming out before you're coming out here was, you wanted to feel like you were self-sufficient in a way, and that you could do things on your own. Which, to me, you've talked to me about some of the things you've done in your life up to this point, and from the outside looking in, it seems like you've done that and more. But you still wanted that. You came out here, but instead, what you got was you started to be able to. How did you describe it? To lean on others?
Lean on others and ask for help and be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I mentioned this in when I was texting you, or maybe you told me, but the trail works in mysterious ways. Like, it teaches you what you need to experience and what you need to learn. And yeah, I came into this feeling like I still had something I needed to prove to myself about being independent and self-sufficient, and I think within the first 30 miles I proved that to myself and continue to prove that to myself. But I think the community has been really special out here, and that's something that I've heard is unique about the AT also. But it's been amazing hiking with the folks I've been hiking with, and everyone I've met along the way has just been really, really wonderful, and I'm grateful for that.
Break that down for me if you can. Just in what has that been like? How do you, when you're out on trail, what is leaning on others? What does that look like?
So one example is I don't do well in the heat, and I'm learning that about myself, and I'm learning how I can keep hiking when it's hot, and what I need to do to take care of myself. But there were a few days, even back in Tennessee, that were really hot, and I just needed to rest in the shade, but the water source was like 0.2 off trail, and Ramen Bomb saw I wasn't doing well and was like, give me your water, like, I'll fill it up for you, things like that, and knowing, I hope, that I would do the same for him. And yeah, like, crying again. But like we've had some really like rainy stretches, and that's hard for me, and I've felt homesick, especially when it's rainy. I don't know why, but
it sucks.
It sucks. I think that's why. It just sucks. So all the feelings come up. Just knowing, like, if I need to cry, like, I can get a hug if I need one, or when we get to camp, like, we'll be joking, and like there are always going to be people around to just like try and make sure you're in a good headspace too before you go to bed or before you continue on the next day. And I've had a lot of fun because I've been hiking with musicians, and I also studied music in school, and so Banjo has his banjo, and Ramen Bomb's a composer, and Digit is a pianist and singer, and so we all kind of just like make weird sounds and sing along the trail, and and so that's been fun too, and kind of gets you in a good headspace. But there have been some really rainy days where I'm just like, I don't want to hike alone. Like, I just want to hike behind someone and look at their feet for 2 hours just to trudge through. And so there are lots of ways that we can take care of each other or just keep each other well on trail. And usually they're just really little things, but they go a long way.
And it doesn't seem like you completely compromised what you originally came out for, because you said that you've still found that. It just happened very early on, and you realized that you already possessed that, and maybe you thought you didn't. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate, and it's good to feel confident in myself, and I mean, you have to still be humble out here and like not be
Do you?
overconfident. but and I don't know everything, but it's good to feel like I can solve problems quickly and creatively, and if something awful were to happen, like I can always have a plan of how to, an escape route or someone I can contact, or like those are kind of like the big things that were scary. Or I was really afraid of bears for a while, and and I'm not so afraid anymore. So they're just like a bunch of little things that.
You're sitting down with a bear right
I
now.
know, I'm sitting down with a bear. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that some people, when they come out here, they feel the need to find this alter ego or develop this alter ego. Somebody who doesn't identify in any other way with themselves back in regular life. But it seems like for you and the people that you've met, and it's actually been a part of the friendships that you formed, is this integration between Mo and Hummingbird.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that? Have you thought of it in that terms, or do you feel like Hummingbird is any way similar to Mo, or are they two different people? Let me know what you think about that.
Yeah, I still feel like I am Mo. I feel true to myself in what I'm doing out here and how I present myself to the world. I think there are lessons that Hummingbird has experienced out on trail, like we were talking about, like not feeling rushed. Like I feel like I could just sit somewhere and chat or whatever for hours on end and not feel like I have to be anywhere. And Mo didn't always move through life that way. Yeah. No, I feel like they are one and the same. Yeah. And I'm just evolving as I go. It's part of the evolution of
you still doing
Mo/Hummingbird.
Still making spreadsheets out here?
Oh God, no. No, but I am hiking with someone. She's going to be finishing her hike soon too, but she's a section hiker, but she does use spreadsheets. So every once in a while I'll get a screenshot of a spreadsheet for like her mileage for the next 5 days if I want to join along with her.
That'll give you some dopamine.
Yeah. Whew, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
no more spreadsheets out here. Yeah, in fact, before I go into town, in the beginning I used to make really in-depth like grocery lists of or things I needed to pick up, and I made one the other day that was just like it was just like permethrin, candy, electrolytes, ? And that's so that's how I did my grocery shopping. So I'm really letting go of the need for spreadsheets out here.
Food, spray.
Let's go. Stay hydrated. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, it's really neat that you've been able to find ways to integrate really the best parts of you, your giftings, right? Your things that you've worked on for a lot of your life, like meditation, or a part of your life, and be able to incorporate it out here. So now we're here. We're in this moment. And you're gonna, I wish I could. I envy the position you're in. You're gonna walk across that bridge tomorrow, and you're gonna be in another state.
Yeah.
And then the states are gonna fly by pretty quick. You're gonna get into Pennsylvania and then beyond. What are your feelings right now at the halfway point, looking towards the future?
I'm the first. I mentioned being homesick when it rains. I'm very excited as I get further north. I know I'm originally from Michigan, so the trail obviously does not go through Michigan, but it's a little closer, and I have lots of friends in New York because I lived there for about 7 years, and so the little homesick hummingbird inside my heart is like really excited to see some familiar faces, for lunch here and there, or short day hikes. Oh, hello, friend. There's a dragonfly, yes. That just flew by. Sorry.
They kill mosquitoes. I love dragonflies.
So dragonflies can live. They're good. They're fine. So I'm looking. It's really nice to have things to look forward to in shorter term goals or little joys. I think Virginia, there have still been exciting things to look forward to, but I think that since it is such a long state, I can understand how kind of people get into this mindset of the Virginia blues, or like, when will it be over? And so anyway, that was a little tangent. I'm looking forward to seeing familiar faces. I'm feeling excited to be kind of heading towards some familiar places to me along trail, especially in New York, Bear Mountain area, and really looking forward to getting, being even further north, which is still a long ways off, but I'm like really looking forward to the whites and kind of totally new to me terrain.
Do they seem attainable? When you think of the whites, when you think of New England, right now at the halfway point, near the halfway point,
Yeah.
does it seem attainable, or does it still kind of seem like what this point felt like when you first started?
It feels attainable now. Yeah. I think that's a big difference from like pre-trail Hummingbird to now. It does feel attainable, hopefully, as long as like I stay healthy and everything goes well. But
do you feel a sense of progression? Progression. I mean, because you've been in Virginia for so long, right? It's been 600 miles, and now you're here. Did you feel any sense of progression, or did you struggle with that while you're in Virginia getting to this point?
There were a few. It was always the rainy days.
Yeah.
I think I really struggle in the rain. When it's like 4 or 5 days on end. That's when it's like really hard for me. But I felt that way sometimes. I do feel now, being in West Virginia and then in another state tomorrow, like a sense of forward momentum. That's refreshing to feel. And then there's part of me that is like, remember like the be here now, what we were talking about, and just enjoying experiencing each moment as it comes. It doesn't have to be all enjoyment all the time. It's something I've learned, but I do like feeling that forward momentum for sure. Yeah.
So we were while we were talking in our last interview, I asked you if you want to participate in this little experiment I was doing, and it was you're talking to your future self essentially, and you were thinking about where you would be at this point on trail, what you would be feeling like, what you would be doing, and I asked you to say some words to your future self, and so I'm going to play that right now. Boom!
Boom! There it is.
What me right now would say to halfway point. Oh man. I feel like I'm gonna cry. I feel like I'm gonna cry now and I'm gonna cry then. As I said, I'm a crier. Just I'm proud of you. Yeah. It's been a really hard year. And you're doing the damn thing. So I'm proud of you.
So we just finished watching that, and look, sometimes it's hard to watch yourself. I get it.
Yeah.
But I brought up earlier that how you use that word somewhat frequently when we've talked, is taking pride in this journey that you've been on, and this journey it's not going to end at Katahdin, but it certainly didn't start at Springer Mountain. It's been a long year and a half, it's been a long few year for you, and you mentioned that. What was it like for you watching that short clip?
Well, first I laughed because I started tearing up, and I always cry, and we were laughing. Some things never change.
Yeah.
I think I'm still forming this thought in my head, but I went through a lot last year, made a lot of big changes. And I think I come back to feeling proud a lot, because I feel like this is something I'm taking like ownership over, like making the decision to hike that Appalachian Trail, And you can tell I'm from Michigan by the way I said that. But making the decision to hike the trail and feed myself and tent and survive. I mean, it's not like, I think, it's not like a super crazy wilderness experience. It's a bunch of shorter backpacking trips, I think, but making the decision to do that and take ownership over that was a big deal for me, because I've been very lucky that I think a lot of things just kind of like fell into place for me, and that's being good at my craft, whether it's music or writing, and I think I kind of just went with the flow with a lot of things in my life, and that's a good thing, and I'm very privileged to like be able to have experienced life up to that point in that way. But I wanted to like kind of disrupt things and do something really hard and outside of my comfort zone. And so I think that's where the pride comes from, is like I made this decision for myself. And so thank you, past Mo, for being proud of me. And to future Mo, I'll be proud of you too. But it was wild just looking at that, and it just really took me back to a few months ago. It feels like a totally different life, but it really wasn't that long ago. So I'm glad you have this experiment that you did. But yeah, so much has changed, but so much remains the same, and just new perspective on life, I guess. Yeah.
I love the fact that despite you being great at so many other different things, you decided to come out here and challenge yourself ultimately.
Yeah.
And it's certainly wonderful that along the way we can learn so much. And you attend what I call the University of Life. and she has more degrees, but it's good to be curious. It's good to just sit with this moment, be in this moment, like you've said so many times, but to not only partake in a journey, but be aware and conscious of what's happening along the way makes it all the much sweeter. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happy for you. Like I said before, I'm very proud of you too, and you've given me so much of your time here, and your energy and your thought, and I really appreciate you, and I've enjoyed following along with your journey to this point, and I'm excited for you, because for as many miles and as many things as happened to get to this point, you still have so much more, and you can see that several different ways, but it's a good thing, and thank you. I appreciate you. This has been wonderful.
I appreciate you too. It's really good to have this intentional reflection point about halfway through, and so thank you for cultivating that, creating the space for that. And so, yeah.
Well, right on. That's it.
Woohoo!
Wow.